All right, and we are live. Welcome to Jen's Awesome Show. I am here with Yuri. Yuri is someone I met during the Sunday gratitude ceremonies, and we haven't had much of a chance to talk, so now's our chance. I think I'm going to skip the small talk and dive in. I was reading your blog, and it was really, really interesting, and so here we go. For anyone who doesn't know, which might be a lot of people, can you describe what it means to be a hypersensitive person?
Oh, hypersensitive. I can't believe you found my blog and read it. Hypersensitive. I think that term is kind of misunderstood by a lot of people. I think they call it highly sensitive rather than hypersensitive. I think hypersensitive is like overly emotional and just panic at everything, basically, never have all these phobias. But none of that is true for me, although I do have a lot of anxiety quite often. But highly sensitive, it's mostly just sensory stimulation. There's just the senses that are just intense. I remember being a kid, and I couldn't even go outside in the daytime. I mean, it was just, I did, but I would be staring at the ground and I'd be crying, just because it was so bright, the sun. And, I couldn't stop just the tears. Just sensitivity to noises and stuff too. It's just the way it is.
That makes sense. So how did you work past that feeling of being overwhelmed?
Overwhelmed, yeah. Obviously, that leads to a lot of overwhelm. Yes, I'm always basically overwhelmed. A lot of it is just mitigating, my environment, keeping things about as calm as I can, especially like not chaotic. There's a lot of clutter in this room that I'm in right now, although you probably can't see too much of it behind me. And that just that clutter, it's overbearing. I think a lot of the way I operate is to put my thoughts and stuff into the space around me. So when I have the space, then I can actually think quite clearly. But without that space, everything's cognition's down, and I guess everything is a little bit more overwhelming. I really haven't dealt with it 100%. I get overwhelmed quite often. I just don't really consider that too much of a problem. Try to deal with it during the overwhelm, rather than preventing it.
Is there anything you find that helps you move through it?
Yeah, meditation. Oh man, just being mindful. I discovered meditation just a little while ago, just a few years back, and it's amazing. It's just learn how to breathe. So when I learned how to breathe, let's put it that way. There's a time, basically 30, 40 years of my life, I didn't know how to breathe. But now it's learning how to breathe is just really awesome. It's just a constant habitual. Seems to be breathing out a little longer than you breathe in. Really, just it allows everything just to become a lot clearer. Without that, there's just hyperventilation and just not aware of what's going on, and just everything is more and more intense. As soon as you start the roller coaster, then it's like, it's gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't. Meditation is the biggest thing. I mean, the environment. Keeping chaotic people out of my life. That's another thing.
Yes.
People themselves are really overwhelming. There's an emotional pressure they have, and they're just being in their presence. It's just, you can feel it. And, and the way people communicate is just, it's intense, like quite often. So it's nice to actually social isolation and stuff. I love, and then this whole like Zoom stuff is really helpful too.
Yeah, I bet it would be. So one of the other things that I noticed in your blog was you talked about gaining impulse control. How did you become aware of your impulsivity, and then how did you work to control that a bit more?
Impulsivity. I've always been aware of that. It's something I've enjoyed, I think, mostly. It's not something I've seen as a negative. No, impulsivity is great, except when you can't control it, I guess. Yeah, having the impulses is one thing. Acting on them, I guess, would be another thing. But impulsivity is quite a good thing if you can control it a little bit. For me, it's led to a lot of exploring new things, and just impulsive thought would come in and be like, oh, look, let's explore that immediately, and not. I don't think the ego really has a chance to say no, don't go there, and it's. I think that's really helpful, and So for me, impulsivity, I've really appreciated that aspect of it. Plus, it's allowed me to try new things. Things like, going skydiving, stuff like that. Just really chaotic things, and just doing a little bit of dangerous things. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't leave my house. There's just too much, like, without the impulsivity, the fear would kind of take over. And it'd just be, impulsivity has allowed me to live, I think.
That is a perspective I hadn't considered. Thank you. How was skydiving?
Oh, it's crazy. I was super anxious, scared the whole time. Honestly, I mean, when you're getting trained, it's like, oh yeah, I'm on the ground, no problem. This is gonna be easy. But when you're up in the plane and it's just everything's out the window, forgot everything pretty much. You're supposed to hang on a little strut and just crawl out there and on the wing. And I forgot everything. They just let me through it. And I mean, I let go, and then I forgot everything for about 3 seconds. So I was honestly overwhelmed. And parachute, likely, it just auto opens because they open it right when you let go. They're holding it basically, so you can't screw this up.
Nice.
And then you let go, and then they let go of the parachute, so it opens. And that's really convenient. But yeah, when I'm on the ground, I loved it. Your legs shake you for the next hour, so it's a great rush.
That's fantastic.
I think there's one more thing too. I'm just doing stuff like that. It's just kind of a little bit dangerous. I think it allows for a more inner exploration. It allows a fearlessness inside as well as fearless. Like, you do crazy things out there, and the fearlessness inside it allows for personal development, I think. So a lot of it is just fear of facing ourselves. There could be a demon there or something. So it's just less fear of that, and you just look straight at the demon. And it's like, yeah, I'm skydiving, bro. It doesn't matter. Like, it's scary. It's as much. I love it though. I'd go off, and it's so expensive.
It is. Yeah. So how did you learn to recognize that your inner dialogue wasn't always telling you the truth?
I think I've always had hints. I think the whole world has been telling me, for my whole life, that that's not true. You're delusional. That doesn't make sense, and all that sort of stuff. So I think I've always been questioning my thoughts in some way or another. There's a lot of self-doubt, that comes with that. But there's around I remember 26 for some reason. At 26, for some reason, I just got into skepticism and started to. Before that, I was a bit of a scientist, logically minded, working in a lab. But I didn't really know how to think skeptically. It's not really taught in school. Mm-hmm. So I became involved in skeptical communities. Skeptic's Guide to the Universe was a big one, and other skeptical podcasts I started listening to. And they taught me that, okay, there's a skepticism that you can have around the world where you kind of look at things more questioningly. And when you start doing that in the outer world, then that starts to happen in the inner world. You start to become more aware of your thoughts, obviously. You start to question those too, and apply your new skeptical tools. And of course, that leads into the whole critical thought area. Skepticism kind of fell away, but then I dove right into critical thought. And there's this whole, just recognizing other people's communication and logical fallacies that they use, and just, all these little things that they do, and analyzing how to access the truth. I found that immensely helpful, and it changed my life, actually. But that was around 30 or so, 4 years later. Yeah, and then ever since I've have a critical mind, the way to analyze things. But that doesn't close avenues off in any way. It's still very open. It leads to a weird schizo type mind, though. Sometimes you can critically analyze something, but then you can also feel something, and it's difficult to critically analyze that sort of thing. So you can't really reject things. That's not really skeptical. That's not really open-minded. So you end up believing both, and then you got dual, triple, quadruple realities on top of each other. They're all possible, and it expands out from there. So that's where I am from there.
So how do you figure out the balance between all of that?
I don't think I do balance too well. Balance isn't really I mean, it depends what you mean by balance, I guess. I mean, if you're looking at from the, I don't know, balance between two extremes, and you're looking more of a gray point or the middle.
Yeah.
Gray.
And that
Or
doesn't necessarily work if there's more than two things.
no, it seems like you try to balance one thing and it throws something else way out of whack, and everything's interrelated, so it's really difficult just to maintain balance. Plus, I find if you separate, like I'm pretty extreme on one end or another generally with almost everything I do. If I do like kind of a one extreme on one end and I separate it, say over time, say tomorrow I'll do the other extreme, then I'm not really sure if that's balance or not because I'm doing extreme, extreme, extreme. But I guess on average there's a middle way, if that makes sense. There's no median, I guess, but there's a mean, you can say.
That makes sense. So how did discovering all of this feel? How did it change you?
It's just been my path. What do you mean by all of this?
To be more specific, being aware of the different ways that you can analyze both your thoughts and the world around you.
I think a lot of people aren't really aware of their own thoughts, just in general. And I was probably similar. They're kind of going around in life doing this and that. And it was a revelation when I became aware that I'm not the thoughts. I'm not my feelings and all that. And I just kind of realized that, I'm larger than all that. So for me, it's been a real spiritual development. It led to seeing things from a third-person perspective. I'm watching myself act in life and just becoming very hyper-aware of how I was coming across.
Mm-hmm.
That's led to, well, then I discovered a few things about myself and like, oh, whoa, and so you face the shame there, and then it's you can go through that, and you start accepting yourself and become less chaotic, and everything starts to make a lot more sense once you start accepting all these little aspects of yourself, and it's changing my life, and every day, I just grow and on this path, and it's the same path really, but the path is just leading. There's a destination. It's going, big wavy lines when I was younger, but it seems to be getting kind of smaller and smaller amplitude, I guess. But it is heading in a direction. So the direction is, there's personal development direction there for sure. Direction is up.
That's good. Question here then. You've also mentioned that when I was reading that you've found a place of stillness. And you mentioned that with the meditation as well. How were you able to harness your ADHD in order to achieve meditation?
I think the ADHD has been ADHD. I haven't been officially diagnosed. ADHD, autism, highly sensitive, or anything. These are kind of the labels I put on myself, but that's just so I can just be like, okay, so that's just, I'm different in that aspect, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
So that I'm not so harsh on myself. But it's given me it's given me like a very, well, I don't know if it's given me, but I can be very hyper focused. So I think that has really helped. If I try to meditate and I say I want to focus on something like my breath or something, or just an inner dialogue or anything like that, I can stay on that for hours and hours if I wanted to. It's not really been a problem where there's a lack of focus, but there's a high distractibility component to it too, and I seem to be very distractible. But that's mostly environmental stuff. I mean, if I'm blocking out the environment and actually doing it manually, basically with my eyes closed and stuff like that, then it's not a problem. With the environment impinging every day, and then feelings impinging, and other people impinging, and then you've got your thoughts, everything's at you all at once, and it becomes pretty chaotic. But if you can separate that out or block a few of them, then what's left is pretty easy to manage quite often. And then your body's also sending million signals, so you start to hear those, which I think that's really important. I just started hearing those actually a few years ago, basically. Just been oblivious to those, my whole life. What, I'm hungry? I don't know. It's that sort of stuff.
Yeah. That's a thing too, yeah. Have you found that it's made a difference in terms of just calming enough chaos that you're able to see more things like what your body needs, but in other aspects of your life as well?
Yeah, for sure. I think we're getting inundated, I guess, by a lot of information. And there's a huge amount of reality that's basically flooding into us, past us, through us. And we have these filters that block out like just so much of it. Manually putting up filters that allow you to analyze, I guess, the stuff that is coming in a different way, or allow you to see it just more clearly, or experience it more fully, or however you want to put that, sense it more, intensely. You can actually see how much that you're missing in the general day-to-day. So if you shut down, I don't know, if I shut down a few of the senses during meditation or anything like that, just in a trance, quite often I just go into the game itself, and I just start playing Minecraft. That would, I don't know, it shuts out a lot of stuff, and so I can get really deep into stuff. Hyper-focus arises and become intensely aware of myself, basically my inner self, my inner life. And the universe, there's like different intensity of signals. So a lot of reality is flowing through you, but a lot of that reality is also very subtle. And I think if you become aware of those subtleties, there's like treasure troves information there that just maybe a lot of other people aren't experiencing or getting. And I find that's where all the gold is. So that's where all the beauty is, for sure. There's a lot of gold down there you can dig out and experience the world in all new ways, basically. So I really love that aspect of it, for sure.
Definitely.
I forget the exact question that you asked, though.
Yeah, that answered the question.
Okay.
Definitely. So how would you say that focusing on gratitude has changed your life? Or has it?
Gratitude. Focusing on gratitude has changed my life. I actually have a gratitude practice that I do. I have like a backlog. I should probably type them up or something in the game. I don't know. But then I think the gratitude practice got me thinking about gratitude, which got me involved in the uplift. I'm like, okay, there's a gratitude church over here. I'm doing gratitude, Let's see what's going on over here. And I resonate with what's going on there. And I went in there and, it was, met all you guys, basically. It was great. And yeah, I think it drew me to you guys, but it definitely changes your perspective. I mean, you do it for every day and your entire perspective changes. That's almost goes without saying. I'm saying like how it individually affected me, but anybody can do this. So change your perspective. You start to look for things to be grateful for more often. It's on your mind, so there's less negativity in your mind. Grateful is a pretty positive emotion. And if you show appreciation for what you're grateful for, then I think it really changes your outlook on life, the way you interpret information. All your filters change, so your worldview changes. Basically, your entire world changes. But it's even with all the benefits, I don't think it's that. It doesn't seem to be a habitual thing that just sticks all by itself. It seems to be like an intentional thing. That so we have these autopilot modes where we have to put the intention to do it. Even if it's so good and everything in our being says, keep doing it, I think we still slip and we stop doing it, without the intention. I'm not really sure how to keep that intention there, or sort of keep the practice there without the intention.
Yeah, that was kind of leading into the next question. Does it ever feel like work?
Gratitude?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess if I force myself to do it, it would. But and there's this quite often I'm thinking about things that I'm grateful for just in general. does change your perspective. But then I'll just, instead of just, oh yeah, that's a thought, I'll actually record that thought and I'll write it down. And so I think that really helps. For some reason, I can see the thought, and that makes it real. It sticks, and that's how I do it anyway. So it doesn't ever seem like work, because it's a natural, spontaneous thing for me. And then just write it down. It's almost like a collection, like an NFT collection.
Yeah.
I'm collecting gratitude thoughts. And I've got like a backlog or a catalog of my own gratitudes.
So do you have do you have a notebook where you write those all down, or just whatever happens to be nearby?
Whatever happens to be nearby. I used to use just the journal. There's a journal up there, but now I just use the phone. So it's just
okay.
I always have a phone on me now.
Yeah.
Wasn't always the day,
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people maybe don't know that, but there's a time when we didn't have phones.
Definitely. So how did you hear about the Sunday gratitude ceremony?
I was invited. I was doing a fitness thing, I guess, on this app called Argus, where I would dance, and I would say, stuff that, new insights that come to me, and I'd record, and a lot of people record workouts, but I would record dances. And through that, I met this guy, Mike Finney, and I don't know, he was a real quiet guy, and, I just approached him real slow and got to know him. Over time, we became friends, and in Argus, I started this thing called My Kind of Church, which I kind of also, it's just the hashtag that I use now. It's My Kind of Church. Never really liked the religious churches stuff. The whole spiritual aspect, though, there's definitely some there. So I would get a bunch of people together just in this fitness app and just talk about, say, like, I don't know, what I thought was important at the time. Just like defining who we are, and kind of more deeper topics, like what is love to you guys, and just had like the discussion over the week. It was really difficult to get people to communicate, but I just showed up every day. I would write something up every day, whatever responses to respond. I'd invite Mike Finney into those things, and he'd look at him and he'd be like, "Oh, it's kind of church," He's dead silent. He doesn't say much, but he saw what was going on, and so he knew about this gratitude service, or he knew somebody who did anyway. And he introduced me to his friends, and asked if I, to send us what you're doing. Why don't you show up here and see what it's about? My computer couldn't play Minecraft at the time. It was pretty old, so I never joined in-game. But after a good year, maybe or so, of being invited, I came once or twice, and I met you guys, and it was actually, I was welcome. So I skipped a few weeks, but I'd come every Sunday, and then now I'm just coming every Sunday. So I don't know. It was Mike Finney on Argus who originally introduced me to the people, who introduced me to the service.
Okay, and I know of Mike Finney, but I don't know Mike Finney.
No, Bob, and Bob is in the service there. So
yeah, okay, yeah, and I've seen him on the social media, but I don't know much more than that.
He's quiet. I know.
Yeah.
He doesn't say much.
Interesting. Okay. So did you know either Greg or Corey before this, or were they surprises?
No, everybody was a surprise. Honestly, I didn't know what to expect. So it was different people every time. Corey and Greg were basically always there, but you were there most of the time. But I had no idea that that there was a relationship between any of these people, and I kind of thought, friends or something like that. I had no clue. I showed up as an outsider and been like, "Hey guys, so yeah, I heard about this thing and thought I'd join in." And they were very welcoming.
So how did you feel then when suddenly it was the Uplift World?
Wow. Yeah, now it's the Uplift World. Yeah, everything's fast now. There was a time when it was just a weekly thing. You come in, you just you have a formal gratitude thing. So it's like church, basically. You go show up with a few people, and it was really awesome. It was really fun and private. I liked it. But yeah, now that it's opened up to the world, it's really hasn't changed a whole hell of a lot, which is kind of nice. The ceremony is pretty much the same. but a lot more people watching, I guess.
Yeah.
And the Uplift is just the branch off that. You know, it's basically the gratitude service started the thing, but now it's almost like got out of control. Who knows where it's going to go? It's crazy. Every day there's 1,000 things to watch and do, and just, you know, I have a day job too. It's hard to keep up with everything, and, you know, watching videos and stuff. So I mean, now that I'm in the game, I mean, I have a computer that can run it now. Now it's just, well, now I don't have a spare moment for any, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, much or anything. It's yeah, it's time consuming.
Do you ever feel like you're compelled to watch all the things and be involved in absolutely everything? Or do you find that it's easy to sort of pick your couple of things and then step back and just be?
Well, there's definitely a curiosity that every time I watch a video, I learn something, and then you know, what I learn is quite helpful to the way I perceive the whole community. So I do want to watch them all, but it's just, yeah. I guess there's a little bit of perfectionist. Yes, take it all in and every little bit of information, and then I can have the best, you know, distillation of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But to be honest, I mean, it's like reality. It's flowing through you, and there's so much of it that you just have to be like, all right, what do I got time for? You know? And yeah, it should. You don't have it. I don't have a choice. Like, I don't think anybody does. Even if I had, I don't know. Oh, I forgot what I was going to say, but even if I could do it, I don't think it'd be beneficial in any way, other than just being a perfectionist tendency, you know, of knowing everything and being all. But anyway, I mean, I'm in the background. I don't really say a hell of a lot, you know. I just watch. I see what's going on and put things together, you know. But I try not to get on camera, so this is very new for me.
Definitely. So did you have any background with cryptocurrency before this, or was that also a surprise?
No, I do have a background with crypto.
Okay.
That's another reason. Mike Finney wanted me, I guess, to have a look at what's going on here. I've been involved in a few. Well, not a few. I heard about Bitcoin all the way back, and I thought, oh man, this is going to be awesome to change the world.
Mm-hmm.
You could see the potential, but, you know, and then I was busy and it got, you know, so I was doing other stuff and kind of went underground for a while. It resurfaced again, I guess, 4 or 5 years ago or so, around Ethereum. I started to look into that. For some reason, I heard about it. I was listening to some spiritual guy, teacher, gamer. He's a gamer, really, but you know, he is making a lot of claims and about tokens and stuff like that. And I was looking into that, and I thought Ethereum. He introduced me to Ethereum, and he mentioned I could get lots of it. And I was looking at it, and I thought, this is something that's, you know, it's going to change the world again. It's like Bitcoin, but then he made a few tokens, and I was following that ICO for a while, and it didn't really go anywhere. I don't think, not yet. Anyway, still hodling. But I learned all these terms like hodling, and, you know, and then I don't know. I got introduced into Chirp. Is it Chirp? There's a bunch of tokens there too. I didn't really participate in it too much, but I was looking around and been like, oh wow, it's, you know, blowing up, and there's a deep hole here. There's a chasm. There's so many avenues to explore in crypto. And but I've always had Ethereum ever since when I discovered it. I bought some, and I've always had it, and I've been looking at it. Prices go up and up and up and up, and I thought, you know, I started to look into it more, and this has just been the past year or so, in the past 2 years maybe. I saw my Ethereum, you know, my investment like quadruple basically, and I was like, oh, I better look into this and see what's going on, right? And then I discovered all these other tokens, and then I was hooked from then. I'm like, oh, look at this. This is like, this will change the world. There's like no doubting it now. It's just that it's basically a new type of internet. So, and NFTs too are also tokens, and another type of internet come out. It's like how social media revolutionized the internet. This will probably revolutionize it again. So that's what I'm hoping for. But it's almost like inevitable as well. I don't know. Nice. I don't think you can lose in it right now.
I don't think so either.
Although you can. I don't think you can lose long term. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. It changes a lot. I've heard people repeat a lot that it's very volatile.
I like that aspect of it because I'm very volatile, so I think it matches my personality in that way.
Okay.
It's
I find
I
it
like it.
really, really unsettling, and
Yeah,
I don't trust it, but I'm right in the middle of it. So,
you can win lots, you can lose lots. Yeah, but
yep,
it's nice. It's always exciting.
that's certainly a good way of looking at it. Um, if you could make a really, really, really big mess with no repercussions, no budget, no cleanup, and no responsibility, what would you do and why?
Hmm. I've heard you ask this question before on all your awesome shows, and I'm thinking, wow, I still don't even know an answer to that.
It's a
Not
big
really much
question.
of a fan for mess making in general. I think mess making turns my environment chaotic and it makes things a lot more difficult. But there are some structures I think probably should be taken down. If I could take down just certain aspects of corporate America, maybe, and
Yeah.
finance system, I think is on its way out anyway, or be changed. Take out economics and get back not to a bartering system, but it's kind of more of a value-based system. I would take out fiat then, basically any type of fiat type of currency, but a lot of crypto is also fiat. Honestly, it's not crypto that I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of more of a value-based system. There's a lot of people that get
Yeah.
sidelined, and those people also have value, and it's just unseen because they can't work in the 9 to 5, or they don't do it properly, and they're not quick enough, or they're not consistent enough, or whatever it is. So they just get sidelined, and they get a lot of them end up homeless on the street or whatever, or they end up having rougher lives because of that. And they have a lot of value. It's just ignored.
Yep.
So yeah, I'd take that out. I'd take out. I wouldn't introduce anything like that, but I'd take it all out and make a big mess, and then see what builds
Yeah.
afterwards. Because I don't know if I could build a system that's going to work, better than what we got, but definitely needs a shake up.
That is a great answer. I like that.
Thanks.
So, one last question, because I do read the social media before I talk to people. You made a mention of future presence. Can you explain that concept a little bit?
Oh, where did you read that? I don't think I published too much about that, but
No, that was on the Twitter. It was just a brief mention of it. I thought it was a fascinating idea.
yeah, I think so too. But I need to go write about it or something. It's the way I live my life, just in general. It's a very spiritual way of living. You're in the present moment, so that's where the presence comes from. We're experiencing things as they are, but you also have a dual layer reality kind of superimposed on top of that, where you're thinking about your future and you're thinking about how the present moment actions are going to affect the future. It's weird. It's a weird way of projecting yourself into the future, a future that you create. That's that you'd want to live in. Say a future that's maybe a little better than this future. If you're having trouble in your life or whatever, say project yourself in a future where that trouble is not going to happen, or you can overcome that challenge or whatever it is. And then in the present moment, you behave as though you live in that future moment. It doesn't have to be very far. It can be tomorrow or something like that. But you behave as though that future exists. And a lot of times you're a better person in the future than you are now. So you behave as a better person. And what ends up happening is that future gets manifested or pulled into the present. It seems like it's like your reality is that future now.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do that for a while, you make these tiny little shifts and you end up aiming towards a nicer, better future. I just call it future presence. I don't really know what else to call it, but yeah, it's just kind of the way I see things and the way I navigate through reality. Projection, got to use it. I could throw it on people and say, "Hey, you're making me mad," and all that, but I prefer to hone my projection. I know I can project too, so I just hone it over here where it's more useful. Create worlds, my imagination, put that there. Harness what I got to make my reality better, my life.
I believe it.
It's hard to explain it just on the fly. I'm not really sure. Like,
Well, that makes sense to me. Yeah, if you were going to project a future for, let's aim a little further, say 5 years, for yourself as you relate mm, to the real world and to the uplift, how do you see that kind of coming together? Who will you be, and what will it look like?
God, 5 years, eh?
Yeah, about that.
I don't really, well, weird beliefs around time. I don't think time really exists. But I can
I
project.
have to agree.
People run around and they project time all over the place. It's like they get kind of created this virtual time world.
Mm-hmm.
5 years is
A long way.
quite the ways. Yeah. I think, oh geez, a lot of changes. I don't. In 5 years, what was the question? In 5 years, what do you think will happen with the uplift and the world?
Yeah, the uplift, the real world, yourself,
Or
the
what I would like to
community.
happen.
What would you project if you were going to project yourself into that future?
Well, the ideal future for me, I think, would be there'd be just a lot more universal basic income would be here because what are you going to do? There's going to be a lot of people who don't work. It's coming. That's just inevitable. You can't just let people die on the street or chaos to rule, anarchy or whatever. People do have to be taken care of. There will be new forms of economy for sure. It's not going to be all bank controlled, government controlled, and stuff like that, where you're basically in this system. You're controlled by your boss, and all the bosses above there are controlled. There's a hierarchy of bosses, and everybody's throwing their emotions, I guess, on everybody else.
Yep.
And then you get home and you kick your wife, and your wife kicks the dog, or whatever, and everybody's kicking everybody all the way down the chain. And it doesn't seem very useful. I think that's going to be recognized, maybe not in 5 years, but sooner enough. And it's just the education system. God, I would see the education system completely revamped. I mean, it already is pretty much changed like completely from when I was a kid, but yeah, you don't sit in classes. I mean, every kid learns a little bit differently, or they learn best in different ways. People have different interests. They should be nurtured, but I mean, this is my should world of what I ideally where I would go, But I think there's a whole mentorship program that education, that's where it's going to head. The kids will be independent self-educators in a way where they can choose the mentorship, and maybe they can take a class in trigonometry if they want to, but they'll choose a mentor that teaches that, and they'll learn online with that mentor, or even perhaps in real life with a class size, say 5 or less. That sort of thing. And it'll be a whole dynamic system where every kid is taught around the world mostly what he wants to learn or she wants to learn. And it may be a few staples that aren't taught that probably should be taught to everybody, like how to have relationships, how to communicate, how to experience emotions, or how to think, just in general, how to critically analyze your thoughts, how to relax. These are like super important. How to manage your money even.
Yeah.
These are really important skills that just really aren't taught, and how to just assert yourself, and just how to know what to do, and just look within instead of always we have all these kids. Anyway, that's just tangent. We have all these kids graduating, and they're all like looking without for external validation. Just come on, just look at me. Yeah. And it's just it's a bit toxic. People would be more understanding for sure. If they look within, they're like, "Whoa, it's not all good in here," and they can look around and be like, "All right, I understand you a little more." It's tolerance and understanding, looking after people. I mean, I'm not advocating some socialist or anything like that, but there's got to be some sort of, a safety net that you don't feel ashamed to be in, I guess. A safety net that's actually there and to actually help to uplift you. And I think the Uplift community actually can provide something like that. There's a safety net. There's a community there that can uplift you and strives to uplift you. And they do have this tolerance and acceptance attitude where they're grateful to, just to do what they do. And if we get everybody doing that, so just everybody in society grateful for what they do, we'll probably talk about that forever. I think the world will change. Like, people really do need to follow their own path, and the more forced, the more you try to control somebody else's path, the more chaos there's going to be. Just in general, it's like almost like we're faded down a certain path. People can control it; they can push you the one way, but yeah, it causes tension and strife, and that projects out into the world. They project that out into the world, so that's what we see in the world. A lot of tension and strife, just in general. It's just what's going on inside it. It's the same thing that's going on out there. It's like that for everybody, and everybody sees things a little differently too. So those are individual variations of what's going on inside them. But there's also, societal variations. It's just cultural things. They really do need to be brought out in the open. There's so many secrets. A bit of a truth seeker. I kind of dig and dig and dig. I take that pickaxe and I go right into, right to the soul. It's kind of fearless in that regard. Like I said, there's a lot of treasure, a lot of gold down there, and you can see it's just a reflection of what's out there. What's inside is pure reflection. I forget the question now. I've been talking. Oh yeah. Ideally, God, there's so many things like that. But ideally, there's so many things. I want this, I want that, I want this. But these are my ideals. I'm sure everybody's a little different.
I have to say I pretty much agree with you on a lot of things. So and the only add that I would put in there is that I don't think that a lot of things like a basic safety net or universal basic income need to be considered socialist. I think that can, politely, it can die.
Yeah.
We can move past that.
The terminology, does need to be reinvented.
It's outdated.
Let's call it humanistic, maybe.
Yeah. People-centered.
Yeah, it's a sort of unified system. I don't know. Anything.
Something beyond bigger. Because it is bigger than that. It's bigger than any one person's category for it. Yeah,
that's a good one. Purpose-driven, yeah. We have a purpose-driven economy,
Yeah.
And your purpose is out in the open. That's one thing I love about the crypto space. There's the corruption. It's just, it's out in the open. Anybody can see it. So it's not there. I love that. That's how I live my life anyway. So I don't really experience, but there's a lot of shady characters out there, and they're just left politely out of the space.
Yeah.
I like that.
Me too. Well, I think I'm pretty much all done. Was there anything that you wanted to add that you wanted to talk about that I missed?
No, I don't think so. I mean, okay. I'd like to know about you more often. Somebody should interview you.
Somebody should interview me.
I mean, there's a few people already who's, I think a few people have mentioned it, but if I ever interview anybody in the future, I'll get you on.
Great.
But it is nice to know you a lot more. I mean, I do see you in the service, so
yeah,
I realize that you're related to Russ even, or anybody else. So it was a surprise every time.
Yes. Well, Corey's my cousin, so that's that connection.
Yeah, Leon's your son. I see all these people. Oh, Russ is. Oh, that's also,
Yeah. It's harder when you don't see everybody in the same room.
I guess Greg would be the only one who's not related. But he's just, he's related anyway, 40 years or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Well, now he is. So family is what you make it sometimes. Mm-hmm. So in closing, what are you grateful for right now?
Grateful to have this family. To be honest, my family's not so tolerant, open in that same way. So a lot of them are very... There's a lot of love there, but they don't know how to show it, I guess. They don't understand a lot of things about themselves. And this family here is very open to exploring these types of things within themselves. It's like they're just on another level, it seems. So they have this built-in acceptance, and positivity. Positivity is a major thing. And uplifting, there's like a promise there. Like if any one of the family members wanted to do something, they would grab you and throw you, catapult you wherever you want to go. Like there's this support, once somebody makes a decision to do it, there's support. I'm really grateful for that. I'm not going to use it, hold it maybe, but it's really nice to know it's there. Plus, this whole thing, it has changed my life. Just my, being involved in this feeling gratitude from everybody. There's this wave that's kind of going out, and I can feel that when I'm not in church and I'm in church, I feel the wave from the States or whatever it is. I don't think distance matters. Probably no distance either. No time, no space. But I definitely feel there's a vibe there, and the more people that get sucked into that vortex, I think it could be a destructive vortex that could destroy a few things that needed destroying. And it's not going to spit out flowers everywhere, maybe, but I think it'll make the world better. Definitely makes me happy. So I'm really grateful for that. That's a really long gratitude.
That would not fit on a tiny sign, but I like it.
Grateful for you guys.
Me too. I don't want to sound like I'm just copying what you had to say, but it's a similar sort of feeling. It's a feeling of we. It's not so much a feeling of here I am doing my thing. It's a feeling of we. There's a community that makes sure that nobody's left. When one person gets uplifted, everybody goes along for the ride. And that's just really joyful. I'm grateful to be a part of that. Yeah, definitely.
You don't have to step on people's backs.
Yeah,
everybody's used to.
Yeah,
it's not really welcome here, so it's a change. I like that.
Well, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, I'm glad you asked. Jen's Awesome Show does not have anything planned yet for the future. So if there's anyone else out there who wants to show the world how awesome you are, contact me, talk to me, write me a comment, write me a message. I am happy to meet everybody. I've met some absolutely fascinating people, and maybe you're one of them. Maybe I just don't know you yet. And on that note, we're out, and we'll see you again when we can.